They're just a bunch of maniacs. They talk.
That's awesome.
There's tons of them, just nonstop veterans all the time, throwing rocks and talking shit. And
lunatics.
It's hysterical. But now we can't keep up. It's a good problem to have, I guess. Not even with the founders.
There's 83. I have 83 unread messages in the OG chat, and I checked it like 2 hours ago.
It's amazing, by the way, how many veterans and how many that are in Bitcoin and understand it from that part. Like I just when I think about what Preston too and how he talks about this, and it's just amazing how many people are in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's amazing we haven't broken Bitcoin yet.
Yeah.
We're working.
That's how anti-fragile it is.
Yeah, totally.
We're gonna have to add something to the old adage. There's an old adage, Jeff, that if you stick a Marine in a room with anything, it's gonna get broke, dead, or pregnant. And in this case, I don't think you can do that to Bitcoin. So maybe rich. I don't know. Broke, dead, pregnant, or rich. I don't have. Maybe that's what the Bitcoin caveat's got to be.
All right. These guys are starting to throw fists around in the chat. I think it's going to be a lively group today.
Oh,
yeah. If you guys are out there and watching already for the pre-show, go out there and share this thing. Share it on Twitter and talk it up. We need as many people in here to hear the message of Jeff Booth as possible. It's going to be a damn good show.
Hell yeah.
Well, everybody's doing that.
I was going to say, that awkward like pause where we're not talking because we're all trying to like repost and retweet and all the rees.
Yeah. Does anybody have it? Who is that somebody with a phone on right now?
Yeah, somebody needs to fix that nonsense.
Oh yeah, just vibrate if you don't mind. If that's you, Jeff.
I think it might have been. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Can we mute that guy?
Yeah.
He doesn't have anything good to say. Just mute him.
Who has this guy on the show? That's terrible.
Oh man.
Matt J already says, and he must be licking his chops. If you can do this in 6 minutes, I need to hear about the marginal cost of production, Jeff.
He's been waiting months.
It's crazy for me too. I say it feels like saying the same thing over and over and over again, and still people, yeah, totally get it why you keep saying that, and then they go straight back to the other world, right? So for me, anyways, it's nuts. But I do feel like it's almost the same message.
What kind of needs to be? There's nothing wrong with that. The repetition is the mother of all learning thing is a thing, right? All the new people need to hear it.
Yeah, it's a good signal too. And there are a lot of new people, especially in this crowd. So having these guys hear your message, I got to tell you, it was one of the first messages I heard, and I'll save some of this for the intro, but very powerful.
Yeah, it's just a different framework, different view of the world, and what it should look like versus what it does look like. And then you realize everything else that you give energy to is taking you away from that. So it's crazy. So it's nuts. Yeah.
Jeff, I don't know if I ever told you this, but you were largely responsible for orange pilling me.
Wow.
Yeah. Reading your book, and then I don't know if you remember this, but I had a conversation podcast a long time ago.
I remember, Alex. Yeah.
I was still very fiat minded at the time, and yeah, I mean, you helped me figure some stuff out.
So this is the beauty about this, and that's why it's also inevitable because we're all part of it, and every single person you touch is another part of it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And what you guys are doing now are bringing a whole bunch of more people down that rabbit hole, and they're going to say that you touch them in the same way, which just carry. That's the beautiful thing about this whole thing, where we are, how early we are, and how exciting it is.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. We had you probably don't remember. We actually spoke to each other for a moment at Bitcoin Atlantis, and it was my dad actually read your book, and after reading The Price of Tomorrow, that's when he went down the rabbit hole and he discovered everything. And then he's the one that orange pilled me as a result of that. which is just, it's been such a cool thing to, to study it with him and to go through that experience of discovering it. It's just been awesome, man. So thanks for making that happen.
No, thank you. Who would have ever guessed that? Who would have ever guessed? If I think about laying in bed with my wife saying, "I have to write this book," and it goes against everything, all of the people that I know. It goes and we just I just remember what that. Yeah, but I just I think about that moment and needing to write that book, not wanting to write this book, and then what ended up happening as a result. It's for me too, right? All of what I do now as a result of that. It's just crazy.
It's a very courageous choice. I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, you're lying
no doubt.
there, and you're like, I know this thing that I have to write, and it's going to fly in the face of like what everybody I know knows.
So at that point, and that's actually the case. That is the case. At that point, I've said this on podcasts before, but at that point, I said the most likely is nobody reads it, nobody cares. Right? That's the second most likely is people read it, and I look like a lunatic. And every board I'm on and everything I'm on, I become persona non grata. As this existing system attacks me. And I said, in the very small probability, it actually makes a difference. And so to see it make a difference in people's lives, anyways, I couldn't be more grateful.
Yeah, it's been massively impactful to a ton of people, I'm sure.
This is all reminding me that I let my neighbor borrow my the Bitcoin Standard, and he read it in a couple days and gave it back, and then I gave him the price of tomorrow. And Jay, if you're listening, I would like my book back. We've talked about it. I know you read it.
He's probably, I'm keeping this one. This is good.
Or he was like, maybe if I keep this, he'll stop giving me books to read.
Yeah. Speaking of where we're going and making impacts on people, Jeff, do you know like anything about Bitcoin veterans? Do you know what we're doing?
No, not really. Like I know all you guys. I've seen the flag that one of you gave me at, I think, was it at Madeira? Was it Gabe? Yeah, Gabe. But no, I'd love to hear more.
Okay.
All right, cool. Maybe we'll tell you a little bit. But like one thing to know is that there's 16.5 million veterans.
Yeah,
they all need to understand Bitcoin.
Wow.
That's just U.S.
That's just in the United States of America.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I really thought Alex was going to be like, do you want to hear more about what we do? All right, maybe I'll tell you sometime.
That's next week's episode. Just tune in and you'll hear us talk all about it.
Little teaser before the intro.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of us. There's a lot of us and that's just in the U.S. alone. And there's about 200,000 more that are leaving the military right now every single year. And I mean, they're getting out, and for so many of them, it's a challenge to get out. I mean, especially after having served in today's military and then coming back into the world. And then there's, we're in the mess that we're in. And this is turning into the purpose that many of them are looking for, which is just it's a big part of what drives us. I'll just put it to you like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very important. Very cool.
All right. Everybody out there, hold on to your butts. We got Jeff Booth in the house. This is going to be a hell of a show.
Let's go.
Welcome to Bitcoin Veterans, everybody. This is easy. We're Bitcoiners. We're veterans. Very, very simple. We are here to put you on the mission to find purpose in your life. If you're one of those veterans that got out, was disenfranchised with the whole MIC and everything that we had to do overseas for some perverted banking MIC political cabal out there, this is the place. We are looking at this from a self-sovereignty, digital scarcity, citadel, comms. We've got so much going on at Bitcoin Veterans. Gabe runs Operation Libertas that is helping transition military members outside of the military or in the military into jobs in Bitcoin. We've got Brave that's handling PTSD. We've got a whole slew of people who are on a mission right now, who weren't on a mission, who now have a passion in life that are getting together and actually taking action, applying the skills that they have and learned in the military, the camaraderie, and even bigger, that 16.5 million veterans that exist inside the U.S. alone, to put everybody on this mission so that, we leave a legacy better than we found this world. So I will stop there. We obviously have an amazing guest tonight. His name is Jeff Booth. Maybe some of you guys in Bitcoin have heard of him before. If you haven't, welcome to Bitcoin. First and foremost, get out from under the rock. This will be a good introductory course. But before we get into Jeff and in this interview, we've got some bills to pay. We got some new sponsors, and we're excited to tell you about them. Alex is going to do that now.
Okay, cool. I want to quick say thank you to KCC. Cattle Company. You guys are fantastic. We still obviously love those guys, so check them out too. But our new sponsor that just came on board is SLNT. So have you ever considered how much information is stored on your phone? Personal data, bank account info, access to maybe your two-factor authentication. All those apps that you've got in there provide data that tells a story about you, and that is why we were teaming up with SLNT. Silent offers an efficient and easy solution to protect your location and personal data. Their Faraday products block all incoming and outgoing signals so nobody can get their hands on your info. You just put your device inside, close the sleeve, boom, off the grid, untrackable, safe from unauthorized access. Some of you guys are very into OPSEC and you're concerned about things like this, as you should be. Hardware wallets are also mission critical gear. It's crucial to keep them safe from hackers and events like EMP, solar flares, etc. You can do that with these Faraday bags. Go silent today at slnt.com/BTCvets. That's again, slnt.com/BTCvets to save 15% plus free shipping on qualifying orders. Okay. Also, just a quick shout out to Black Sheep Ammo. These guys hooked us up. We're doing a range day on the 25th in Nashville, and those guys donated several $1,000s worth of ammunition to us for our range day. Thanks to those guys, veteran owned, veteran operated. Appreciate you. That's it.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
We'll remove that. We'll get into the legendary Jeff Booth. Jeff, visionary leader, technology entrepreneur, and best-selling author of The Price of Tomorrow, Why Deflation is Key to an Abundant Future. With his expertise in technology systems, thinking, and design, he is at the forefront of transition from the economic system built for the past and one built for the future. He is the founding partner of Ego Death Capital, co-founder and addy at NocNoc, and he has been a Young Presidents Organization member since 2004 and contributes time as a founding fellow at the Creative Destruction Lab. Please welcome the legendary one and only Jeff Booth, the Bitcoin Veterans, everybody. We are excited you're here. I got to tell you, when you said yes to come on the show, I was just like, oh man, this is going to be one of the best shows. I got into Bitcoin in around 2017, started flirting around with it, climb Mount Stupid and everything that you do with, shit coins and Coinbase and like everybody else. And then I picked up one of your books. I guess it was your book, The Price of Tomorrow. And it didn't talk a whole lot about Bitcoin. And it talked about the system that was, and it started talking about why it's all messed up. And it started to just paint this beautiful picture and how we thought about money and how it was all wrong, and how we should be thinking about it more as a technology that should be deflationary. I think Michael Saylor says something like, digital immortality. And that is the right way to think about it, especially from a Bitcoin's perspective and a Bitcoin, system. It is absolutely, I think, one of the best founding books that anybody can pick up and read. So we're all appreciative that you wrote it, that you're here with us tonight to spread the good word.
Couldn't be happier to be with you guys.
Let's go.
Here we are.
Only
All right.
22 comments so far. Jeez, oh Pete. These guys aren't excited at all.
Yeah.
Ian read the formal intro, but like people in the Bitcoin community, Bitcoin ecosystem, probably are pretty well familiar with Jeff. In my opinion, he's probably one of the smartest guys in the ecosystem. Easily top 5 smartest guys in the ecosystem. So what does that mean? Like, if you don't know anything about Bitcoin, like, who is this guy that we say all these amazing things about? Like, he's legend, right? All that kind of stuff. He's just a genuinely like nice guy, and knows a lot about this stuff. So if you're talking to new people, Jeff, talk to us a little bit about the major concepts, like in your book. Why does it matter to people who don't know about Bitcoin? Like, you're talking to a bunch of guys who are either military dudes, active duty, maybe they're getting out, and they're like, what is this Bitcoin thing?
Yeah, and different people, you know, Bitcoin. A lot of people know Bitcoin. You kind of see it through your own fractal first, and then it kind of takes you, and you look at it, how it connects to every different thing. And so each person's journey through the thing that matters most to them is kind of a different journey. For me, I was a technologist. I understood technology really well, and I understood how, especially protocols, but technology changes the world, and technology is just a word that we use for the efficiency that we create, that creates more value. And so if you start with the natural state of the free market is deflation, and investigate that deeply, right? That and start with, why would that be true? As an entrepreneur, you cannot create less value than what was there before and stay in business, right? You fail. So an entrepreneur has to create more value than was there before. And that means everybody that is working for the entrepreneur has to create more value than teams that were there before to be able to thrive. And and when I say you, each of us on the other side of that equation, choosing things that give us more value in our lives, the output of those two things has to be deflation. And by the way, it must have always been deflation, not just now, but it must have always been deflation. And then when we create new things, new technologies that create faster deflation, more value faster, it has to be faster deflation. I haven't heard anybody argue this point. Anybody. Everybody nods their head, and like we're all doing, and then they go right back to a system because the derivative of what I just said, if you have an inflationary system, it means it's not an economic system. It's not a political system. It's a control system that gains its strength from stealing from you. And if you just go to there and just start, why don't prices fall if people tell us it's a free market and we're standing for liberty and free markets everywhere, and we're going to impose our beliefs on other countries so they have free markets. But if we live in an illusion that it isn't a free market, you have to ask the question, how does it gain its strength, and why are we convinced that it is a free market, and what's the cost of that? And so that is that for me too, by the way, writing the book and going through this, it was a, oh my God, and most people that are go down the rabbit hole in Bitcoin start to realize that it touches everything, because how could it not touch everything if we were living in an illusion that was stealing from us to gain its strength? It would mean that the more people you had underneath your illusion that inflation was required, the more power you would gain. And I'm not saying that there's any them in this. I constantly say there is no they. It's just a structure that we make stronger through our actions because we believe in it. So that's where I would start. That's where I started with the book, and I only put a paragraph on Bitcoin at the end of the book, just as one plausible path. And I have to be honest, when I was doing that, at the time, even though I held Bitcoin, I assumed that there was probably a 5% probability of it failing at some point in the future. And so, yeah, so it was then trying to disprove and trying to see where it could be killed that I became more and more convinced on this is going to transition the world, and this is going to transition the world to truth, hope, and abundance, because more and more people would see that insight and move their time and energy to the honest system.
Can we stay in that vein for 1 second and maybe dig a little bit on that one part that you just said, where you got to a place where you wanted to basically see what I'm going to paraphrase this. You were looking for the biggest attack vectors against Bitcoin and researching those. What did you come to? What were the ones that you considered the biggest potential vectors, and what were your own answers to those questions?
So first, the ones that like the government's going to stop at, all of these things that are kind of nothing burgers, and so you throw those in the beginning as you go through, and because you then have to ask how would they stop it, and unless they could break the decentralization and security, they wouldn't be able to stop it. And then you get to the point on, we are the decentralization and security, and just the insight of how important decentralization and security is in our world. Once you know that, you're going to do everything to fight for that.
Yeah.
And so we are the nodes. Like if you run a node, you become part of the network. But some of the work that I was doing in that path down that is, if like, just imagine your house, right? And today, if your house fell in value and you had a mortgage of your house because we went into deflation, we went into the free market, and all of the credit, all of everything sits on top of governments, everything, every institution is on top of that credit. And we went into deflation, a free market, and everything got wiped out to the sand. Everything failed. You have to ask yourself, at what time in that bleeding, as all the jobs went, as all the banks failed, as everything, at what time in that as that thing was failing, would you vote for anybody to print more money? And so the massive pressure, it's not them, it's us, that we will do that. Means we're a part of the other system too, and we pretend that we want it to be different, but we don't actually act like that. We put in more and more time into that other system, making it stronger through those actions, and then we complain about the outcome of that as it's stealing more power from us. So that's a really important insight, right? We are part of that system, and I don't know anybody who would vote for that total collapse and stay voting for that total collapse in the abysmal part of it. So it would just keep on. And that's because we live in a system of credit, and that credit has to grow forever or collapse. And it has to grow exponentially forever against the free market. And as it grows exponentially against the free market, because it's just an illusion, right? The credit's already insolvent. It takes more and more of your power, and as it's taking more of your power and driving you into fear, you're yelling at it more, giving it more power, right? And all of the things you're talking about, whether it's Trump or Biden, and all of the things within it are stealing your power or your energy. So I realized the strength of that system that we were operating in is us operating in it and giving it more and more. And the same thing, the strength of, so one of the things that was specifically fascinating about Bitcoin is how hard it was to change, and people that change it, because if it was easy to change, then and I'm sorry if I sound, people are really bad at predicting the future, in my opinion. Very bad. They predict the present forward. And the same people that you watch on the news making new predictions, they just made the wrong predictions 2 weeks ago, a year ago, and they keep, and it's like, if you make really bad predictions, you get promoted, right? And more people watch.
Peter, there's some guy named Zahan, something like that.
Yeah, but and again, or like Paul Krugman, like all of them, the entire infrastructure is full of people who just make news is making really bad predictions and then having no accountability for the bad predictions, and people watch you the next day making new ones, and people forget. So if that's the truth, and very few people are really kind of good at super predicting at understanding all of the variables and where that looks like, then you would expect that going back to the risk here, the risk to Bitcoin would be a whole bunch of people would want to change Bitcoin because they would want it to do more. And they would insert something that people didn't see that would then centralize and break it. Right. And it would be a massive risk because you would be most people wouldn't know that they were being caught into that. And then secondly, even bigger than that, then the state or a deep state or security apparatus could actually false flag different things that needed to be in there to be able to get people to really care about, to be able to do that. When Bitcoin went through 2017 and block size wars and the small blocks won, it told me that, and then how hard it is to get approvals through Bitcoin, because the fight that you might not disagree with people, how hard that is, told me that this is super resilient to the worst in us trying to, or the people wanting to change it. And that resiliency was the thing that drove the decentralization and security. And by the way, we should probably start. This would be a good podcast to talk about kind of another risk coming. We don't have to do it now, but on layer 2, the next fight is just coming for layer 2 right now, and it's exactly the same. It's let's save that for whenever you want. But I think 99% of Bitcoiners are caught up in the nonsense of the layer 2 fight right now, and they don't know that they're getting played.
Let's pull on that thread.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right there, front and center. We might as well give it a good tug.
Yeah,
and
let's do it now.
That's what they say in the Navy, anyway. Give it a good tug.
Okay, we'll start your framework from the free market has always been deflationary. The natural state of the free market has always been deflationary, and all we do all over the world is trade with each other to try to gain more value. Meaning, all you do as a result of that what that should mean is faster human abundance as prices fall relative to Bitcoin for every person on the world. And add to that, we have never seen an economic system for any length of time that didn't get captured, and make sure that wasn't not allowed to happen. Right? The U.S. was the closest through the Constitution. What created the U.S. was that fight that created hard money, and the free market is so much more productive than a centralized market because of all the different ideas from us that create new ideas that we can't even imagine, and all those shots on net trying to create more value. The only way you can survive is create more value than what came before, and that was the rise of the U.S. until the Federal Reserve, and it started to get captured, and it got captured slowly. And then it got captured faster and faster and faster, and that's where we are today. So throughout all of history, there has never been a currency that could escape that capture. And right now, until Bitcoin today, on layer 1, right? And so gold got captured. Then you put derivatives on top of it. You have a payment system on top of it. No one knows who has gold, how much gold. Nobody cares. And you have it. So if those two things are true, natural state of the free market is deflationary, but there's so much ability to create a power on by capturing, because you're essentially stealing a little bit from every human being on the world on the planet to be able to capture that power. Then you would have to expect that even if Bitcoin layer 1 what could not be captured, then everyone would know how to capture layer 2. And you would have to expect that it would have to be captured. Like the amount of, like, imagine you knew what I know, right? You'd have to assume that, and every state actor knows what would you say, right? You would say it's only a store of value. The U.S. is a really good currency. U.S. tied to Tether is a really good currency. We have to do stable coins. We should do ETFs to be able to centralize some of this, and we should make sure that the dollar is pegged to Bitcoin. What would it look like in that example? It wouldn't look like something that was giving individual rights and freedoms back to every single person on the planet through prices falling in a natural free market. It would look like the dollar going from gold to petrodollar system to Bitcoin, and the game would be replayed on layer 2, and you'd suppress it. So as a derivative from that, you can just say, unless Bitcoin becomes a payment mechanism globally, then it will be captured. It still might go up in price relative to the US dollar, and if you care about it just for the price increase, then you might be on oh, it doesn't matter, let's just do this. But if you care about the deeper meaning of what this means for humanity, then you know it has to be a payment. It needs to be a payment mechanism as well. Has to be. And so think from there what and the incentives that are created by the misaligned incentives that are created by creating layer 2s that are essentially tethered to fiat currency. What it means is you can mint money by people losing money on your tethered currency, and the incentives of creating that much money from that will drive more people to say, oh, just layer one, let's use all of these other things, and how much money can be made there, and under the guise of we have to let other people use layer 2 that's more interoperable with the US dollar. And then from there, as this centralizes further, and it centralizes further with artificial intelligence and a control system that's driving that and stopping the free market from working, you can imagine what that would look like. It might be impossible to get out of. But just start all of your thinking in this. There has never been something like Bitcoin, and money has always been co-opted. We have and the natural state of the free market is deflation. We've never seen it for any length of time. We all pretend we want this free market because it should give us abundance, but most people are living in something totally like a control system, and they're susceptible to the beliefs of the control system. So if those things are all true, then many people are going to be stuck believing the narrative from the control system. Now, what gives me hope? Like tons of hope. I saw this attack vector like a million miles away, and so did many others. And some of our investment thesis are around making sure that Bitcoin could operate as a currency, whether it's through some of the companies on Lightning, whether it's Fedi and Fediment and what's happening on this. I have no doubt that it's going to be messy. This is where we are right now, is like altcoins of 2017 on layer 2. It's going to be really messy, but I have no doubt in the end that because I asked myself, what are you cheering for? Are you cheering for human abundance everywhere through a free market, or are you cheering for a control system where your Bitcoin just goes up in value for a little while against the US dollar?
Man, we need to get Jeff in the CWG in
Yeah,
Nashville.
I was thinking the same thing. So we have this thing that coming up in Nashville called contingency work groups. It's led by Bill Stebbins. He's a former United States Army armor officer. And
Colonel, I believe.
he was a colonel.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not just an officer. That's basically the dudes that are in charge of all the guys that are going kinetic, right? We'd love to have you if you have time, Jeff, so we can talk about that offline here. But I think you'd be an incredible asset to that group.
Yeah, would love to if I can make that time work. Yeah.
Awesome.
Gabe or Jordan, you want to hit up a question real quick?
I do have a question. Yeah, I was. I mean, first of all, I don't know, man. It's something that you just said. I mean, you kind of simultaneously scared the shit out of me, and also gave me a lot of hope at the same time.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Kind of like I did in the book too, and
Yeah, and that.
Gabe,
And that's
can I just say, here's the hope, and this is what we do. This is actually why I'm not scared of AI under the circumstances that prices fall, because what do? We are the supercomputer. Ideas spread through this, and once you have an idea that is so powerful like Bitcoin and the decentralization security, and people know that insight and they've never had that before, then those powerful ideas spread through people to talk to other people, and it's hard, and it's hard to, and we have agency, right? So even out of what you did right now by giving me this time on this podcast and the way you guys are doing it, you impacted you and a whole bunch of other people, because we leave these conversations and we're forever changed. That's what the world looks like, or should look like, on an honest ledger. And on that honest ledger, that's what we're fighting for, making sure that ledger stays honest.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. Because something that surprised me when I listened to chapter 8 of your book was I was kind of expecting, okay, it was going to be about economics. It was going to be, okay, there's going to be some Bitcoin in there, but chapter 8, it's called Us Versus Them. I mean, I had to listen to it immediately right after. And if you guys haven't read or listened to the book, just freaking, I mean, to me, it was a clear call to action. And I was a little bit surprised by that. And it was a moment that I felt was transformative, and that a light had switched on, and it was surprising to me. And I was wondering, when you went in and you were motivated and you were inspired, and the fire lit and you wrote the book, I imagine you must have had some idea of what your expectations were when the book entered the world. And we were talking about this, I think, in the pregame, where maybe they were, it was going to be like this, it was going to be like that. But what could you share with us that was a surprise to you, a surprising result or reaction after the book was released into the world?
This being on this podcast and people saying that I made a difference in their lives, and you saw me at Bitcoin Madeira. All I think when anybody says that is all of the tons of people that made a difference in mine to be able to be in this seat right now. I literally see the world. We are one. We're united in that. And the same things that we're saying here, these ideas percolate through us, and sometimes you don't see it right away. Like, even you guys know a bunch of Bitcoin, they're friends, and it's hard to convince your friends of Bitcoiners, and you're pushing harder and harder, and they're pushing further away, right? And then all of a sudden, somebody will come up with an idea that they thought of it the whole time. And it doesn't matter if you don't have to orange pill somebody. And we're around to these ideas all the time, and then something clicks for us, and we take it and it's ours. That's what the world looks like. So now just imagine 8 billion people doing that in service of 8 billion people, instead of a couple 100 million doing it into a control system that's extracting from 7.8 billion people. Imagine what that would look like. It's so hard to even, so the world I see is that world. And however, and the world so you asked about the book specifically. Actually, I've always seen that world. I feel like I see through people with what they really want versus what they say they want, the real depth. And so as a result of that, I have like extraordinarily deep relationships in all of my relationships, extraordinarily deep. I love these people, and I care about them, and vice versa. So living life like that feels like a superpower. It is a superpower, because you see the genius in every single person you meet, even if you disagree with them on a certain issue. You see the genius in all of them. So I guess when I was writing that, I realized a system that based on extraction has to divide people and create a different type of world where you're kind of living in fear or mistrust of other people all the time. And it would, and so all of this is kind of an insight of and I'm thinking of writing another book. I've started writing another book right now, but think about what we're talking about right now, Gabe, and we are at the center of all of the models of everything we ever created. So how could this not touch it? How could our thoughts, actions, what we like, everything we ever do, everything around us is a reconstruction of or informed by reality that we project on the world, and it's a mirror back. All of the innovation comes from that. All insight comes from that. So how could we not be at the center of that?
Damn.
I know.
Thanks, Jeff.
I mean, people come to Bitcoin for number go up. This is what you get when you have a PhD in Bitcoin. When you spend those 10,000 hours, when you think about it, when you talk about it, when you are networked in. Lynn B had a great comment, and there's a lot of people in this chat that have nothing but amazing things to say. But she says, Jeff made a big difference in my life. Much gratitude for his inspiration and encouragement to help create the world you want to see. You're hitting on some stuff, and I've got so many questions. One of the ones that I wanted to ask you, I was walking around on a hike this week, and I didn't realize your capital firm was called Ego Death. And I have so many questions about how did you name this, first and foremost. But what you just said in response to Gabe was being at the center of this, creating the world that you want to see, being the catalyst of action. These are all things that just absolutely ring every bell that I have. And I don't think people understand this enough. They don't understand this practice enough, where when you think and you take action and you put voice into this world, there are some incredible things that happen. And I'd love just to kind of have you enlighten us as to how you see the world like that, and how do you approach your daily life in the world that we're living in, which is crazy.
So so first, Ego Death, I didn't name it. My partners thought it was a great name, and I thought, wow, that is something. So it wasn't me, but I do think about that a lot. And no one. Here's how I think about myself. I make all the same mistakes we all make, right? Or have made all the same mistakes, and a lot of those mistakes are mistakes in thinking. And I look at other people, and they are so sure of the world. I often say they use a victim as an analogy because everybody knows somebody else is a victim, and they are so sure, and they're desperate for love and belonging, and they're pushing love and belonging away from them all the time. And then when everybody comes racing to them, and then moves away, they create more drama and they double down to go deeper in being a victim. They are completely unaware, like the reflection back to them is through the layer of love and belonging is scarce, right? These people don't love me, and I'm using this tool to try to get people to come to me. I found it fascinating in my own life that most things were really good, but where something was stuck, it wasn't me, it was somebody else. And I went, wow, I am just the victim in this example. And I couldn't see it either. So I think we all do the same thing in whatever, and we take credit for the things that are great, and then the other things that are not great, we blame. And we do it for that reason. And it's really hard to see in yourself when I say that ego death. Like somebody says something nice about you on Twitter or something else, and you feel like $1 million. Somebody says something bad about you. Why do you attack them? Right? Why? Because they bruised who you tell yourself you are. That's why. And maybe it has nothing to do with you. They're telling you who they are. Right? Maybe it has nothing to do with you. But maybe there's an insight in what they're saying that can help you grow. So how do I use this? And for me, I just try to improve all the time, and realize that just human, just like everybody else, make mistakes and try to do my best.
That's awesome. And I tell you, that seems to be a common theme that I've noticed amongst the Bitcoiners in general, is that state of continuous improvement that so many of us just happen to exist within. I mean, I've seen more nutrition tips in the past couple of years than I saw in my entire life. You know, I did not know that your testicles needed to see actual sunlight on a frequent basis. But apparently they do. You know, and I never ate so much red meat in my entire life, but it's an amazing life. I can tell you what. My neighbors don't care for all of it, but you know, the rest of it is all right.
Hey, Gabe. No, that's funny. Early on, my wife kind of wondered why I was becoming so close to so many Bitcoiners. And then she came to actually one of the first things we did is I stopped in at Canute's house in Spain as we were going through, and we had steaks with his family, and we had just an incredible night. And then she came from there. She came to the next Bitcoin conference and met a whole bunch of other people. She said, "I get it. These people are all your people. I get it. They're all critical thinkers. They're all and that's what ends up when you see what that looks like. Like you want to spend more time, and you want to tell other people what it actually looks like in a world that's uniting versus a world that's dividing. You want to spend more of your time there.
Yeah. It's a fascinating phenomenon. I've seen this happen also, like, for example, like conferences where someone will bring their other half, and like in the relationship, the Bitcoiners, like they can't shut up about Bitcoin. Like it's just a never ending thing, right? About Bitcoin. And the spouse is like, come on already. And then they go to like a thing where there's like a conference or something like that. And then they're in a bar or a restaurant, and there's a bunch of Bitcoiners, and they're all some of the most humble, optimistic, full of love people. And they, you know, I've seen over and over and over again where a doubting spouse starts to go, I need to learn more about this Bitcoin. I do not understand how in the heck all these people are so damn happy. What's going on here?
Well, where's the Bitcoin Wives or show out there? That's obviously a gap. All the Bitcoin Wives have showed up. I mean, good Lord, that's
well. Natalie does that at each conference, right? She puts together women in Bitcoin, and that thing is getting really big. Yeah,
it's very cool. Like, and you're just starting to see all these organizations pop up where people have like similarities, and they're also Bitcoiners. We're one of those, right?
Yeah.
And it's super exciting because for us, like, what happens with us is we have both veterans and active duty people, A, who are already Bitcoiners, but B, who are curious, and they'll join our groups to talk about Bitcoin and feel okay talking about it because we're their people. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we all talk the same language. We've had similar experiences, and they'll just get in a group with us and they trust us. They may not believe in Bitcoin yet, but they'll be like, hey, like, give me the real deal. Like, tell me the real deal. What's really going on with Bitcoin?
Alex, that's why what you're doing is so important, right? There's a whole bunch of veterans that in some cases have PTSD and a whole bunch of or lack of jobs, and they come out of something that was such a camaraderie around and they're really special people, and then they're lost for a while. And now connecting them to where this is going and what that could look like, it's very, very powerful. So like awesome. The beautiful thing is what you're doing. Bitcoin's an open protocol. It's an open network, and anybody can just move their time and do work on it. You don't have to wait. You can, and by doing it, you see more opportunity too. You help more people, and then more opportunity comes out of that, and it feeds back on it. And you want to do more. I'm asked all the time because people, because I say create the future you want with your actions. If you're complaining about the world that you're in and spending all your time there, then there's no one else to look at but you. Right, that you're making it stronger over you, and I get calls all the time that say, "Well, how do I do that?" Like it's a light switch that I have to do all at once. But if you're spending 1% of your time, and you start to see this, spend 2% of your time. If you're spending 2%, spend 4%. Go to meetups. You'll meet other great people, and then from those meetups, meeting other great people, you might see a business opportunity that you want to spend 50% of your time in, or something like that. Exactly what you guys have done, and anyone can do it. Nobody's stopping you from doing it. You just can move your time, and as you move your time, your world it gets better.
Well, put a bow on it, guys. I mean, geez, Pete, that's.
I think what's cool, like, I mean, your first little bit in the conversation, it was a little like dark and gloomy, and everyone's like, "Oh, nah," but that's what, like, especially from like the military perspective, the enemy gets a vote, and you have to consider that. You have to see what the opposition's doing, and that might look a little like gloomy at first, but out of that, you can develop a plan of action of how to defeat that and how to come out. And so looking at the negative, looking at the threats that are coming out at you, you can now see, okay, this is the path I need to take forward. And I think that's kind of what you laid out, something that was maybe a little doom and gloom. And then everything after that has been like, all right, here are multiple paths to success. And this is why, like, this is such a good thing. Like, man, that's awesome. But you have to focus on the negative.
I don't want to underestimate what's going to happen and the chaos that's going to happen, because then I won't be prepared, or I won't have done the things that I need to do to be to drive that. And so we all have agency through starting Ego Death and our fund. We realized that this attack vector was imminent at some point, and so we've taken active action to be able to build an ecosystem that doesn't look like that. And it's not just our fund. And so I see all of the people that are building that ecosystem, and anytime that there's any risk of centralization, or there's all of those people, Michael Saylor calls them cyber hornets. They're racing all over the place to be able to move to prevent that attack factor. I need to be honest about it, so that you can plan and make sure. But again, I'm not worried about it, because I'm not worried about it in that way, because once you see how important this is, I keep asking myself, why would you be scared of something? And if you're scared of it, are you giving it more power, right? When you can do something about it through your action. So there is no fear if you want to be doing something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a point. I think you were having there was a conversation with you and Preston at they were at the Unconference in Madeira earlier this year, and you kind of touched on that a little bit about not underestimating the adversaries that are out there. And I mean, something that I took away from that is we have every reason to be hopeful, because we know that we know what's happening, and we know that there's a very strong likelihood that in the end Bitcoin wins and the victory is there. At the same time, we still have to fight those battles, if I can use that as a phrase. We still need to do the work. We still need to anticipate what's going to happen. We still need to project, and we still need to plug in, and we have to do the work. We got to show up and we have to do the thing. And there's a human element to this. And it kind of leads me also to think about Jason Lowry's work with soft war and his theories on power projection, and his and I don't want to paraphrase for his massive work that he did, but he has a theory in essence that that Bitcoin, that one of the main purposes of Bitcoin is to serve as a cybersecurity protocol. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, completely agree. So I love Jason's work. Jason, I think, got a bad rap because in some cases because his ego wouldn't let him allow the message. Instead, he had to be the message, and so he was fighting he was fighting this war inside this. But his message is really powerful. It's a piece of this, and you heard me in Madeira, but I view Bitcoin as a protocol bounded by energy. And that would be a similar way to how Jason looks at it. And that protocol bounded by energy means it's unattackable by something that's not. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Wow. And if, as long as it stays decentralized and secure and it's a protocol bounded by energy, you could do all you want in something not bounded by energy. You can't stop this. Yeah. And which so through that lens, again, Jason's fractal looking at this was through that, and he's right. But because a lot of Bitcoiners wanted to see the peace in this, they didn't see kind of what he was really talking about. But and both are true, right? Both are true. Bitcoin creates a place where it just keeps going, and all the attacks that you want make it stronger because it's bounded by energy, right? And in other words, you don't have to attack, right? The Gandhi, just you be. Mm-hmm. And just by being right that layer, the attacked surface tries to go, and those attacks become weaker and weaker and weaker through this. So no, I thought here's an irony of Jason Lowry's work. I was one of the first to see it on LinkedIn. It was I think it had 25 views on LinkedIn. Wow. I read it. I reached out to him. I asked him to create a Twitter account and share it broadly. I shared it on LinkedIn first, and then I asked him to create a Twitter account and share it broadly because it needed to be talked about more broadly. And so, yeah, but I think he's done a really great job.
Awesome. Thanks for getting into that. Hey, do you guys mind if I change gears a little bit real quick? Look, AI, you kind of touched on it a few minutes ago, so I want to kind of dive into that a little bit because it's something that it's been blowing my mind. And you had shared a number of papers fairly recently that I'm working my way through. But one of the things that I'm kind of curious about is when you had mentioned in an interview about AI potentially using different AIs using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, and I'm curious what other relationship you may see between Bitcoin and AI.
Yeah. So will they use Bitcoin? Could you use Bitcoin today with AI on Fedi? You can right now. Somebody's built an app to be able to pay in sats on this. So that will be used more and more. the more interesting thing in AI for me, far more interesting thing in AI is the rate of improvement is so fast. Meaning the productivity gains are so fast, meaning that we should be living in a world right now that's probably -5% deflation. Next year, maybe 7.5%, the year after 15%, the year after 25%. And that means you shouldn't be measuring inflation from zero, because it's capturing that productivity and what you're talking about to keep and so if you think about how fast this is going in those two, these systems are incompatible together.
Mm-hmm.
A free market system where the knowledge in AI systems, it gets better and better and better, and because that knowledge came from us, it is us. It serves us as a tool as prices fall exponentially. And the entire world benefits. Or you have a world where it's controlled to use against you. There is no in between. There is no part way there. And how fast this consolidates up and creates more and more value, and what people will do from the system. We should tax the AI. We should regulate the AI. What are you actually saying? You're saying we're not going to let the prices fall. We're going to create monopolies of information based on your information, and we're going to use it against you. And all of these things will feel perfectly normal to an audience looking for prices to go up their entire time and how they can live. And then we'll give you UBI to where did the money come from for UBI? Right? It came from you to create the control system. And so these things, let's tax the robots. Well, I mean, the robots could be free and doing the work for us so we didn't have to, or we should tax them to create a monopoly so the robots are our overlords. Seems like pretty obvious to me anyways, what one you would choose. Bitcoin is the path that lets the abundance flow to us. The control system, anything in it, including if Bitcoin didn't become a payment medium, is the other. And how fast that happens, it's extraordinary. And how fast it happens out of the exact same thing. Like you guys read the book, and I remember the 2 chapters on AI talking about where we would be now, and we're about where I said we would be here, and why? Because if you're measuring AI on an exponential curve or logarithmically, it's been on the exact same rate of growth for 70 years.
Mm-hmm. How important would you say it is? I'm sorry. How important would you say it is for people to study AI right now, especially Bitcoiners, for them at least to have a general comprehension of it?
So AI won't take your job in the next little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The person using AI will take your job, and then AI will take that person's job. So if you want to, you should know AI, where it's going. You should spend a lot of time where it's going and understand where it's going. But even doing that, there's just so much noise in the space, right? Every day there's new tools coming out that just blow your brain and how fast this is happening.
Speaking of noise, if you're building AI, and you were talking to Preston about this the other day, if you're building your own AI, if you do it on a platform like Open or ChatGPT, is that a bad idea in your opinion? Should you be doing something offline?
Yeah. So ChatGPT right now has an edge on some of the models, but not very much of an edge. I think every single person should download GPT-4all. Go to gpt4all.com. Download the models onto your computer. It means if you don't have the internet, if you don't have power, and you have power your batteries, you have the entire library of human knowledge in a model on your computer. Because after they're processed, the actual model becomes really small. And these, so you can download Llama 3, you can download a whole bunch of different models, and you can ask them different questions to different types of things, and they've been trained differently. And the open source mode is not very far behind in closing gap on some of these models. Now, some of the algorithms are going to get better. There's going to be insights. They're going to create some next S curve of this. But yeah, and by the way, even what I'm saying right now, all of those models are free, completely free. So how could you make money in AI if the price is moving to the marginal cost of production, and marginal cost of production is free? You can only make money in AI if you scare the bejesus out of senators and the like, and people that say AI is going to be used against you. So we're going to create regulation to protect the monopoly. Right? That's the only way you can create money. And so that's what's behind all the safety in AI, or the giant monopolies of AI. Right? That's what's behind
Makes total sense.
There's nothing to be afraid of here. It's if you let the prices fall, there's no economic value. There's nothing to attack if you let prices fall.
Yeah,
it's in service of us.
It's so beautiful to see this, and for you especially to sit there and say, hey, listen, this is not scary. This is a beautiful thing. Information wants to be free. It wants to get out. It wants to permeate. It wants to spread like an idea. We've got an amazing time to do that. If you're just tuning in, we got Jeff Booth with us tonight. He is just laying it down, quote after quote here tonight. And to see this side of it, and to have somebody talk about AI as something that is going to go our way, the free market's way, the sovereign people, the route of freedom, because as these giant organizations continue to limit what you can extract from AI, those models are just going to get left behind. They're going to be retrograde, and anybody who can, allow and wants to have that open source, that AI that is going to serve everybody and not filter anything, that's going to win in the end. And I'm right there with you, Jeff. That's incredible. I want
Shane, can I just jump into this one second, because it has way deeper implications, security implications, than people realize, way deeper. So if you centralize something and hurt people in that centralization, and things become free and like this, then what will people do with those tools that can be broadly built by 8 billion people? They will create biological warfare. They will create drone strikes from independent people. They will create, if you trap people in a system that is making it worse and worse on people, they will use the same tools against you. At a crazy, you actually inspire the thing you're so afraid of. You've made stronger. And I think that insight, what I just said, is so missing in the mainstream of what's actually happening, because that's what's happening. And you're driving people to hate more, and they are going to find the same tools that are free and unable to. You could print a gun right on the internet right now. You could build a drone. You could build all of these things. You're going to be able to do biology on this a 16-year-old kid would. And so if you push them into a state where they feel like they have no choice, they will make that choice. So those are the choices. That's what we're dealing with. And I know that's a dark spot too, but that's the darkness that the existing system is imposing on a lot of the society in the name of freedom.
I just quickly want to take this moment to do a shameless plug, because we've been trying real hard to get Jack Carr on the show, and this is his, I think, 5th book in his series, In the Blood, and he talks about this AI, like, I don't want to give too much away, but an AI like supercomputer that the government's been working on that can like tap into everything. And it's kind of the first time he's really touched on some sci-fi type stuff. Like, I mean, I hope he doesn't know something that we all don't know. Then hopefully this doesn't actually exist, but it's also very likely that it does to some degree. So one, like, go out, read his whole series, but this book too, like start thinking about these things. Like you said, it's the guy that's going to take your job is the guy who's using AI to think about it. Then AI will take that guy's job. Like start out, even if it's just like a sci-fi thing, start going down that kind of rabbit hole of seeing what some of these implications are. It's really fascinating to see it from that perspective. And also the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, the government probably has something that is a little scary. And it becomes more scary when you think that they're trying to like control and centralize it. Whereas I've kind of been operating on this theory that if AI is truly allowed to like learn and just collect whatever information, I feel like it's more likely to be peaceful. But if it starts seeing humans controlling something and using it for nefarious reasons, it's probably likely to think like, oh, you're a bigger threat to me, so I might need to wipe you out Skynet style. But if we can just like open it up and not silo it and let it be free, it's more likely to have just awesome implications.
Yeah, if
My
it's
knuckle
built,
dragger opinion.
yeah, if it's built on a model of scarcity and extraction, then it'll optimize for scarcity and it'll try to win that game.
Right.
If it's built on a model of abundance, then we win that game.
Mm-hmm. I think we have time for one more good question, and then other shenanigans, I suppose. Can I ask a question, or you have one, Shane?
I definitely have one in the pipe, but go ahead if you want to go.
Might be the same question. Basically, I'm curious, Jeff. What do you think the impact of politicians like Trump getting involved with Bitcoin are? Does it even matter? I mean, there are a lot of Bitcoiners who are like, just don't trust politicians. They don't care if they're from the left or from the right. Can't trust them. There are other people who are like, I just don't like the orange man, and they won't have anything to do with it. But then again, part of me is like, we kind of need Bitcoiners at every level of government, do we not? Like, this is like, if Bitcoin is going to change things, it has to go that route, no?
Relative to Bitcoin, government's going to get way smaller because it forces the free market. And it keep on getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And early on, people are going to see, just like what's happening right now, you have a bunch of Bitcoiners that are single issue voters. They don't care. They care about Bitcoin because they know what that means. And so based on that, and they are a very wealthy and vocal group that could easily swing an election. So right now you have politicians playing to that because they know they can win without it, which is absolutely normal and to be expected in game theory of what this happens all around the world. And so it doesn't really matter. But from the existing system, and this is why I would say, I don't believe right now we have a politician that any politician is thinking about this or talking about this in a way that I am. Yet that's where this takes us and where the world goes. So that's why I kind of tune it all out. It's theater to me right now, and doesn't really matter. It's because all of that theater is paid for, and all the actors in that theater are paid for with the money that's stolen from you.
Theater. I do not disagree with that. Yeah, it's I keep seeing it come up. There is no red, there is no blue, there is the state, and there is you. And there is a lot of theater. I do have a tendency to believe that there is some utility to some of the politicians in at least generating the conversation in people's minds, and getting people to ask questions and say, okay, well, maybe there's something to this. If my guy or my girl or whoever, they're cheering for from the stands is going to put on the t-shirt with the right logo on it for them. So,
which would be
yeah,
a Bitcoin Veterans logo or an Operation Bitcoin logo for sure.
of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, but in that there's and that's why in any company like I look at these institutions and some of the even in Ego Death Capital, the LPs inside the institution, some of the biggest in the world. There's crazy Bitcoiners just like you, Shane, Jordan, Mike, like Alex, like all of us that are completely orange pilled, but they work inside an organization that isn't.
Right.
And they're moving their own time more and more, and starting to. That's what every organization looks like, including the political system.
Yeah.
And now if your voice is aligning to other people that are also that care, and you're saying something that's true, it's going to spread faster, and you're going to create an opportunity to be able to. So it's just going to. Maybe it's theater is too strong a word. It's just the existing system is so broken that the way people get elected is to divide the populace about where the money goes that's stolen from them. And then or countries do the same thing. Like the whole entire war machine is funded by the very, very same thing. These people are bad. These people are good. These people, and most people have never been to these countries or met these people and have no idea what that looks like on the ground with those people, and they buy into the rhetoric, and it gives it more strength. So that's what I mean by theater. The entire thing is from that.
Oh yeah, and that is definitely not too strong a word, Jeff. And it's one that's been used in this circle before, because we do understand the reality that it's so much of it is just a production when it comes to the conflict and the battles that they're having, and you have to choose a side. Whereas when the curtain drops and they're not on stage, they're hanging out in the same bar, having drinks, partying with each other and laughing about what they're doing to everybody else. And so it's definitely something that I can see, and I can tell you that that's something that is a sentiment that we hear again and again and again amongst Bitcoin veterans is so many people are just sick of it. They're tired of it, and that's why we're getting on the Bitcoin mission, because Bitcoin exists outside of that system in an entirely different way. And so that's something that we're seeing here. And it's not only Bitcoiners that are veterans, it's just Bitcoiners in general that are literally opting out of that system. But no, I definitely think that theater is an appropriate word for it, because it is an act. And just too many of us are tired of it. So just to kind of put a cap on that.
As somebody who's seen behind the curtain on all of this kind of stuff, I think theater is the nicest thing you could possibly say. Like, you want to talk about a gentleman, that is the nicest thing you could say about these monsters. And I mean that with every ounce. Like the guys that get together and they hang out after, watching what's going on over in Ukraine or Israel, and like, hey, let's send them some more stuff to fight, and let's let more people. If we're calling that theater, that is the classiest thing you could absolutely call any of these people, and I think it takes a lot of guts to just say that.
James, do you think they all know?
Do they know that we know, or do?
So I suspect, and this is why I'm kind of empathetic with a bunch of. I think many are so deluded that they are doing something that's right and against the other. I think they're so stuck in the system that they actually believe rhetoric. They have no idea.
Some do.
I think so.
And that's the thing, Jeff, is like seeing this from the ground up. You start indoctrination at 5 in the United States. They take you off to school. You do the whole school experience. And then the people who are in DC then go to college, and they get internships with different legislators on Capitol Hill. They see the way the sausage is made. Everything is legitimized. They've taken it into their own psyche, and they said, yeah, you know what? I will do this because it's got, the greater good, or whatever the fanciful excuse is. And it's just the lifestyle. And then on top of it, they're flying places. A lot of times they're flying first class. They're having, you know, exclusive meetings with C-suite type of executives. They think they're more important than they are. And the thing is what I've seen, and I say this, you know, as nicely as I can, but most of these people are first and foremost morally compromised. They're, you know, when we look at DC and we see what they're doing with their personal lives and who they're compromised by, with all the honeypots and everything else that have slid under with the alphabet agencies, like these people, they're not real bright. First and foremost, they are extremely megalomaniac, you know, in terms of, you know, personality types. And on top of that, they have unlimited funds that they're extracting from us to go do whatever the hell they think they want to do. And they wear nice clothes and they show up to nice events. And so obviously, you know, that megalomaniac, you know, psychology is fed. So like I said, I think you nail it with it's theater. But yeah, to answer your question, I think a lot of them are absolutely lost in, you know, for lack of a better term, I think they sniff their own farts. You know, and that's who these people are. They're
deep in the matrix.
But I think everybody knows what time it is now, right?
Okay. Before we do this, though,
we got here a fucking comedian, private joker.
I love it, man.
Before story time, we do one other shout out. So I don't know if you guys have heard of these guys called Solo Satoshi, but what they're doing is they've taken bit axes. If you've never heard of this before, Jeff, this is like a big decentralized thing that's going on. They're taking bit axes, they're producing them extremely cheaply. They're basically, the idea with these guys, I had a long call with them the other day. They want to get these bit axes in the hands of every person who's a Bitcoiner. Basically, you know how you said something a little earlier that you said, we are the nodes. Like that totally made me think of this. And the whole idea here is even if major mining operations get shut down, if every Bitcoin on the planet is running a bit axe, it just decentralizes and makes the whole thing more resilient. So follow those guys. If you're listening to this, solosatoshi.com. Also check them out at solosatoshi on Twitter. Shout out to those guys. Good stuff.
Now it's story time. This is the favorite part of everybody's show. This is where our guests tell an amusing, endearing, lighthearted story where we get to know them a little bit better from whatever past events they may have encountered, whether it's, you know, hardship, dark humor, you name it. And man, Jeff, I'm interested. No pressure tonight. We've had some really good ones out there. You know, where they just keep telling stories and we have to cut them off at the end of the show. But you know, those are our favorite ones.
So I wish you, I wish I read the memo that came in here. This is and I don't have I probably have millions that I made mistakes on. But I'll just start with what I started before. When I did all this work on the existing system, Bitcoin, what that looked like, and the probabilities of Bitcoin being 5% failure, and I knew the existing system was 100% probability of failure, why didn't I buy way more Bitcoin? Well, like, what an idiot, right? and like, so you people, oh, you're a genius, you know this, you did it. All it was a different insight. And then I didn't even follow the insight and and move way more at the time, even though if you looked at the risk calculation or risk adjusted what I should do, it makes no sense whatsoever. So I learned my way into this too.
Climbing Mount Stupid. We all
it was your own Mount Stupid.
That should give every single person listening to this a tremendous amount of hope. If Jeff Booth had to do it, you can do it too, guys. It's all right.
Yeah. Every one of these. I didn't buy altcoins. I never did that. But but all of the other things, and as you go through, kind of level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 down the rabbit hole. Same journey as everyone.
Yeah, I think that's a story that might make everybody feel like, okay, now Jeff's a pretty smart guy, but no matter how dumb I am, I might have something in common with him. Like we all wish we had bought more earlier.
Or then I have a better one than that. In 2010, my team at the technology company came to, and they were kick-ass technology team, essentially shook me and said, you have to take Bitcoin seriously. It's that big a deal. And I ignored them. I was too busy. I was too busy building my company.
We all have hope.
Yeah.
What an idiot.
Yeah, nobody says I wishes I got into Bitcoin later. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad I waited as long as I did.
Right.
Yeah.
I being retired suck.
Oh man. Hey, I want to ask you, Jeff. So we've been kind of touching on this theme a little bit. How Bitcoiners tend to be focused on improvement, and I know that a lot of them are action oriented, and it seems to be amplified amongst veterans. We've just got a lot of people that are just here to get shit done, and I'm wondering if there's a call to action that you could share with our listeners from the perspective of military veterans who are plugged into a purpose, who are here to make a change and to get things done. What could be a call to action that you would share with them?
I love that you asked that. If you're not running a node, run a node. Like tomorrow, learn how to run a node, run a node, because you're a part of the network. If you're not spending in Bitcoin, spend in Bitcoin, even a little bit. Get on Nostr, zap around, spend a bit, because you're adding your voice to a network that's growing and moving and moving out. If you're not going to meetups, go to meetup, meet some people on the ground, talk to them, talk about what they're doing, get involved. Spend your time moving. If you're 90% in the existing system, listening to CNN or Fox or whatever, or Trump, that's trying to capture your attention, take 10 or 20% of the time, move it into this. And the reward will be so staggering that then you'll move the next 20% and then the next 20%. So if I had a call to action, do that.
I wrote down each and every one of them. Thanks, Jeff.
Do that.
There's a great quote that you have to grow personally and professionally. We must embrace discomfort and uncertainty. That's where true innovation happens. And that is so true. And I think it resonates with this group. There's going to be a lot of you that are coming into this that are learning Bitcoin that you're intimidated by. This discomfort is going to pay off, and it's going to pay off in such a way that I don't think you can quite understand it until you've been in it. And I think you don't even understand after, I don't know, I've been in this since 2016, 2017, when I started looking at it. There is so much more to learn. There's so much more to absorb. There's so much more to help develop yourself from the inside out. Like Jeff talks about, looking within to find out what we're going to be doing, what we should be doing. This space is uncomfortable at first. The uncomfortableness, and I think a lot of veterans, really gravitate to this message, is go out there, get uncomfortable on your own terms. So that way, when uncomfortable situations come around, you're the most comfortable person in the room. To be those people that are absolutely resilient and, like the Hulk, anti-fragile, that's what you have to become. You have to become those people that in no matter what situation it is, you've gone through the discomfort and now you're ready for whatever comes at you. This is just a way to grow yourself. And I got to tell you, I'd much rather pick the times when I'm uncomfortable than have them forced upon me, which is, I think, a lot of the population out there. So absolutely stellar advice on all of those things, Jeff.
Yeah, I love that you said that too. That is exactly the point. Know where this is going, be understood, be comfortable in the chaos where it's going, so you're protected. So you're not, that would be what the military would teach, right? Exactly the same thing. So then you're rock solid in any event that can happen to you. So I love that you said that.
This has been a fantastic conversation. We're coming up on closing up time. Does anybody have any comments to share? Last closing comments?
Just thanks a lot for coming on. Like, this is awesome. I'm blown away every time by some of the guests we get. That I'm like, oh, they're coming on, cool. And then to have the conversation, and it's just 10 times better than what I even thought it could be. Thanks so much for coming on. It's been awesome.
Loved it. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and I really, I I don't know what to say. This you've given me much more to even think about than I already had in there. So thank you for that. And yeah, thanks again for what you've done and for what you continue to do. And and I know that I'm sure that people tell you all the time, but I mean, you truly have continued to make an impact in each of the people that are existing in their own environments, and those ripples continue to emerge wherever anyone is that has been touched and shaped by your work. So it truly is an amazing effect that is occurring, and I think that it's even gaining momentum still. So thanks for what you're doing. I truly appreciate you being here with us today.
Thanks, and right by the right back at each and every one of you. That's what you're doing. Right? That's what you're doing for all of the people, and that's what the people listening to this are doing for others, which is incredible. So thanks.
Yeah, the gaining momentum thing is absolutely dead on. Jeff, thank you for being here. We've had nearly 1,000 people live listening to this show tonight, and more people will listen to the recording, no doubt, later. So just thank you very much for being a part of this thing. We've put a lot of our blood, sweat, and tears into this project for the last year, this group, and all the guys that are not on the show with us. These are like Bitcoin Veterans is way bigger than us. We're just the people who talk about it, right? The hundreds and hundreds of guys who are part of the Bitcoin Veterans crew, so to speak. Y'all know who you are. They're the ones that do all the heavy lifting here. Super excited about this. So we just are on the cusp of filing for a nonprofit status with the IRS. So it's going to be it's formed as a nonprofit organization now, founded by veterans, run by veterans, with the purpose of reaching out to as many veterans as possible and getting them on the mission. Basically, we just got our first major donor. Thank you, Steve. You're out there. If you end up listening to this, appreciate you, brother. We're not going to say anything else about that, but very cool. And we're just excited about the future. And Jeff, thanks for being part of this. Appreciate it, man.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Jeff, we're going to see you in Nashville.
I won't be in Nashville, and primarily because I've been doing a fishing trip for 35 years with family and friends, and was run on the same day, and I can't miss that.
What are you fishing for?
Salmon.
Oh man,
yeah.
Where are you going?
Yeah, on the west coast in Bamfield, a tiny little spot on the west coast of Vancouver Island. So, but it's beautiful.
Oh man,
very jealous.
Whales, dolphins, eagles, and we made this giant like WWF belt of aircraft aluminum, and yeah, so it has been going on for a long time. So just
That's
a bunch
hilarious. So the winner gets to wear the belt for the year.
Yeah, and if you get to wear the belt, it's like it's prestigious. You'll golf in the belt. Why? You can't golf in the belt, but you'll golf in the belt. Why? Because you can.
That's awesome.
So good. Jeff, real honor. I mean, absolutely. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for the time that you give to all of us, for putting into words a lot of us, growing us. And I can't say that enough, as somebody, that it really got so much out of your book and so much out of the talks that you give around the world. I think I speak for a lot of people in this audience where I say, we hope you keep it up. And, the amount of growth that's happening because of you, I think there's a special place in history. I think we're looking at a lot of the founding fathers, and to have you here, I think you're going to be one of them. I think you're going to be one of those guys when they write books, because history is going to be written by the winners, and I think Bitcoin wins this one. You're going to be an integral part of that. So thank you again for your time tonight. Everybody go out there and check out his book, The Price of Tomorrow. You can find it on Amazon or anywhere else. It is absolutely, if you got to read it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times like myself, because I'm a knuckle dragging Marine, do it. It's worth it. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this show again, because there were so many just good, quotes and drops for this thing. Incredible. So for the rest of you guys out there, Nashville's in 2 weeks, week and a half. No, right? Week and a half, guys.
Yeah.
Week and a half. If you're a veteran or married to a veteran, we got 70% discount for you still. You can get tickets through us. If you are veteran adjacent, you want a 10% discount, we can get you a 10% discount. So hopefully we'll see you guys in Nashville. We got a bunch of big things pushing this year. And if you see us, come up to us, say hello, introduce yourself. If you want to get involved, text us. Go to bitcoinbets.org. You can sign up there. We'll put you in the chats. We'll get you plugged into whatever you want to do. And if you're not plugged into what you want to do, we'll make something for you to do, or you can make something for you to do. And then you can grab the reins and just hold on for damn dear life. But this is Bitcoin Veterans. We will be back here next week, 7 p.m. Thursday with Alex Spetsky. Going to be another great conversation. We will see you then. Until then, peace.